Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests who are waiting to be profiled are actor Jack Merrill and artist Rafael Bunuel. Actor Jack Merrill was born and raised in Evanston, Illinois. He graduated from New York University with a theater major. I guess the bug hit you early on.
Well, it hit me by the time I got to college.
Not before that?
No, not really.
Well, how did that happen then?
I don't know. I think it was something I always wanted to do. I wanted to be an actor. I think everybody wants to be an actor at one point in their life. And
so you didn't do high school dramas?
I did one musical in high school where I stood in the background and swayed.
Oh, that was Can you sing?
I can't sing.
Oh, I see.
No, I can dance, but I can't sing. I never really was one for musical theater anyway.
But on Broadway, you have to be able to do all of it, right? Act, sing, dance.
If you're going to be in a musical, yeah. But
so
no,
what happened?
I don't know. I do know. I took a class at Second City in Chicago. I took a comedy class at Second City, and I got in their children's company and their Monday night company, and I started doing very well. And I was young. I had just gotten out of high school.
Oh, I see.
And then I actually took a couple years off between high school and college. And then when I went to college, I applied to NYU and got in.
But when you took the time off, were you doing stand-up? You did stand-up.
I did. No, I'm doing stand-up now.
Are?
Yeah, I'm doing stand-up now. I have a stand-up act now. But no, then I wasn't. Then I was sort of just working in clubs, burning steam.
What do you do with a stand-up?
Well, actually recently I was at a dinner in New York at a benefit, and Jerry Seinfeld was there and did a big stand-up act. This is about, I don't know, a year ago maybe. And I thought it was really funny and really simple. I'd never seen him do stand-up before. And I just went home and wrote this whole thing and started performing it in clubs in New York, and it got a lot of attention really quickly.
So autobiographical, or
Yeah.
do you just pick up other people's jokes?
No, it's all autobiographical.
And then you have someone direct you, obviously.
I've worked with a couple different people, but really there's one girl in New York who I work with.
But does it make a difference when you do your act, who's directing you and what they tell you to do?
Well, particularly when you're developing material, you have to be with somebody who has a similar sensibility. And we laugh a lot anyway.
So that
We're very
makes
similar. Yeah, so we agree on the kind of humor, which way it should go. And she reminds me that all has to be funny. I kind of forget that sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, that was funny.
That was funny. And she's like, no, that wasn't funny.
Is that right?
Yeah. She
so
said,
you have to be able to take criticism.
You have to be able to take criticism and write something and then cut it, even when you're convinced you loved it.
That's what's hard to do,
it's
even
like
as a journalist. It's like a journalist, Get that editor away from my stuff.
Yeah, but you have to. There's nothing. And now, actually, I'm developing a sitcom based on my stand-up act here in LA.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
When you came out of NYU as an acting major,
right,
you went to work for David Mamet.
Yes, I did. He was actually teaching at NYU.
Oh, is that how you
That's how I met him. He taught acting at NYU, and we hooked up. We're both from Chicago, and he was a mentor of mine.
Did you ever act under his direction?
Not really. Isn't that fun?
You were acting as an assistant.
I was acting as his assistant, yes, which took a lot of acting. And I did have a small part in Things Change, his movie Things Change.
Oh, so you did get to do a movie, but not on stage, huh?
Nope.
You kept following your career, I guess, after Mamet, and you founded this company in New York called Naked Angels.
Right. Well, there were a bunch of people who founded it. I was one of many. There was a group of actors who came together who wanted to have some control over their own work.
Oh, is that why that's what I was going to ask you. How do you decide you're going to found a company or put a company together? Where do you do it? Why do you do it?
Well, you do
and who does it?
If you're a painter, you get a canvas and you get some ink and you get a studio somewhere or the side of your apartment and you do your work.
Right.
But as a performer, it's very difficult to create your own work. And so if you create a company, you actually have the opportunity to create your own work. It's just like, movie stars wanting their own production deals so that they have some control over what they're doing, just on a smaller level.
But what happens with your company? Then it has to be good enough for it to be presented on stage.
Yeah.
Or do you also do that? Do you produce your...
Yeah, you get it. You produce. You actually find playwrights and you start doing readings of things and you develop them. And whether it's good enough or not is up to everybody else.
What happened to that company?
It's still going.
Is
still
it?
in New York. Yeah.
And who started it with you?
Well, there's a lot of actors.
Are they doing things, the actors?
Yes.
Are they?
Yes.
So it was helpful in their career.
Sure. Some of them had big careers before it. It's also an alternative. It's a place. The theater can be a place where you can work. We're doing the show that we're doing here now. There's an actor who's in it who works a lot in film. Jerry O'Connell is doing this play that I'm working on, and he says, you just decide to do it, and 2 weeks later you're in front of an audience. There's no.
You mean because you're in a company?
Well, when you do theater, period.
I see.
I'm just saying it's very fast.
I see.
It's like you decided from the inception to the finished product can be very fast.
So did you leave Naked Angels?
No, I'm still in the company.
Oh, you're still a part of the company?
Oh, yeah, I'm still an actor in the company.
But you started something else.
I started another company. I just can't help myself.
I know.
I can't stop starting companies. Well,
Urban Empire.
Urban Empire is just, my idea was to be a little bit leaner and meaner than Naked Angels. There's a lot of people involved, and we've been along for a long time, and it's been a great experience, but I got to the point where I felt like I just wanted something where I could have even more creative control.
So you're a creative director.
I'm the creative director of Urban Empire.
And how did that come about?
Well, I was producing a show with Naked Angels, actually, and I had raised the money and made all the decisions for the show, and I just realized that it was time for me to do something on my own, to start my own company.
So how'd you go about it?
I basically corralled everybody I know who's not involved in the theater and got them involved to be on the board of directors. I built a board of directors.
Oh, you started from the bottom, and that way.
I got a board of directors.
Like a business.
It is a business. It's definitely a business. It's a nonprofit business. Mm-hmm. And started hunting around for plays to do. And I know a lot of people, a lot of actors. I've worked a lot. And so I just started making phone calls.
And then how did Zoetrope come into the equation?
Zoetrope was a classic, very, the whole way it happened. It's textbook. I was at a dinner party in New York where I do all my best work. And there was a woman named Lee Carpenter sitting next to me at dinner. And she said that she worked at Zoetrope and that they had done this one-act play issue and they were I should take a look at it, that there were some interesting one-acts. And so I thought, yeah, you never know. And she sent me over the issue of Zoetrope All Story, which
I read that.
Right.
I used to get that.
They just won the National Magazine Award for fiction.
I know.
It was terrific.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah, it beat the New Yorker.
I know. So great.
But so I read it and I was really excited. I couldn't believe actually that this had fallen in my lap because I thought the plays were so funny and so well written and they had done such a good job. And usually if I was going to put together an evening one-acts, I'd have to solicit for them and read through piles of them and go through the whole process. Here they were chosen. They were fantastic. They were already in an issue. So all I had to do was, I chose a couple from that issue, we added a couple more that weren't in the issue, and we put together, and they said they were even interested in doing an evening of theater. So we put it together, we did it in New York, we got a rave review.
Where did you do it in New York?
We did it at a place called Show World, which is a former strip, well, it's more than a strip club, it's a porno palace.
On 47th Street?
42nd.
Oh, 42nd. Oh, excuse me,
right
way
on the corner
down.
Of 42nd and 8th.
Had they started redoing those streets yet? Or are they cleaning them up?
Oh, 42nd Street, ever since Disney came in, it's a whole other thing. But there are some, Show World was kind of what would it be, the palace of the vaudeville circuit when it came to porno. And except it was like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the top of the league. But it was 4 stories high, literally 4 stories of different activities. And when Giuliani came in, he started closing down these porno houses. And so they got around it by saying if you have 40%, if you have 60% retail, you can still have 40% for pornography.
Right.
So,
is that right?
Yeah, so they cut off the top 2 floors and they turned them into legitimate theaters.
And you moved in?
Well, we were one of the first people to perform there. So we did we performed this evening in a room that was called the Boom Boom Room, that literally used to be a strip room. And you walk into the porno house with nefarious activities happening on the first floor.
Oh, because
up
it's
the stairs.
still going on.
It's still going on.
It's still going going on?
And then you go upstairs, and then our theater's up there. So the whole, we had our opening night party, we had a porn star party. It was fun.
Well, that's a lot different from where the play is now.
Yes, completely different.
How many one acts is it?
Five.
Five. It's completely different from the Tiffany, which is on the Sunset Strip.
Yes, they said in Variety, from a strip club to the Strip.
To the Strip.
Yeah.
What about, well, they're smarter than I am.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one. But does it make a difference to your actors where they're performing?
More the audience than the actors. I think the actors get used to it right away, but the audience to come in. But it's funny, the whole show was different. The whole show's changed since it's come out here. I think it's actually a better show.
Well, one thing that I noticed when I saw it on stage is there's very little scenery, very little staging, basically.
Very simple.
Very simple.
I believe in that.
And you make the actors do the work.
Absolutely. Well, if you want, staged pyrotechnics, you go to the movies. If you're going to go, the idea of an exchange between an actor on stage and a live audience, that's what theater's about.
But do you direct them? Do you direct these one acts?
No, there's a different director on each one.
So you do choose the director?
Yes.
And knowing the director and knowing the work, is that how you put people together?
You tend to put things, you tend to steer things in a certain direction and hope for the best. So
you pick a director who's not necessarily in Urban Empire.
There is no membership necessarily. We're a producing organization. So I don't necessarily have, I'm just interested in producing. We don't have a theater that we use regularly. We don't have a particular group that we're attached to. We just want to produce. I just want to keep producing, do as much as we can. And that's why I say a little bit leaner and meaner.
Well, when you get, say, you pick the director, then does he cast it?
We both do.
Oh, you do it together?
Yeah.
So
sometimes there are people who are attached from the beginning. Sometimes we have ideas. This show came from New York. There were some directors who couldn't make the trip. So a couple of them were replaced. There were a couple of actors who couldn't make the trip, so they were replaced. So this is a different show.
And you audition, or does the director just know?
Usually everybody knows. We did see people. We read people for parts, yeah.
So it gives people here a chance too. And if you like them, you can take them to New York.
Absolutely. There's one play that we replaced in New York, and the entire cast is LA.
So you'll take them with you?
Yeah, if we go back. Well, not with this show.
You may never go back?
No, not with this show.
Oh, I see.
No, not with this show. But the idea also is I want to keep throwing the net out. I want to involve all different kinds of people. It's a great opportunity to involve a lot of artists in a particular project, because we've got 5 writers, 5 directors, and 17 actors. That's a lot of artists to involve in one evening of theater.
And how they all get along?
Good. Surprisingly well, yeah.
You didn't have a porno party here, though, did you?
No, but we did have an opening night party. We had a low key, but it was great. It's been great doing the show here. It's been a different experience, but it's been really fun.
Well, we're really happy that you were on. What's Jack Merrill going to do next?
Jack Merrill's going to work on his sitcom. That's my next thing. I'm developing that right now.
And when you're on stage, just before we leave, doing your stand-up, what do you utilize as part of your act? Just yourself, or do you have musicians?
Oh, no, it's just me.
Just you?
I do utilize the audience.
You do? Do you do closed?
No.
So it's not like a one-person play?
No. It's strictly stand-up. It's like with a mic and everybody's drinking some beers. And no, it's the great thing about it is when you're doing a comedy and people laugh and you're in a play, you can't comment on it. But, when you tell jokes and the audience laughs, you can turn out and say, oh, you like that one, huh?
Then you just keep going.
I can keep going. It's a lot looser.
Well, we like this one. We liked having you. Thank you very much, Jack. Thanks for being with us. And don't go away. We'll be right back with Rafael Bunuel. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn. Welcome back. And I'm with artist, playwright, Rafael Bunuel, who was born in New York City, but raised in Mexico City. Rafael earned his Bachelor of Arts at UCLA, and soon after college, he went to Paris. Was that a place for you to go and sculpt? Why did you go to Paris?
Well, my brother was living there, and it was more or less a graduation gift for my parents to. So I stayed there just a few months, And then after graduation to New York, where I spent about 10 years.
Well, then you came back and spent time in New York.
City, yeah.
That was about, what, late 1960s? 65?
Early 60s, like 63.
And then did you make art when you were in Paris?
No, at the time I was a full-time playwright. I had discovered playwriting in college, and then all I did for the next 10 years was to dedicate myself to theater. And then for a while I had a small theater.
You started Inner Theater Company?
The Inner Theater on the Bowery.
How did you do that? How did you start that, and why?
One of the reasons, with some friends, was to start. We found a space that was
on the Bowery.
In the Bowery.
Cheap.
Very cheap. And then we converted it into a theater with 100 seats. And one of the reasons was I wanted a place to experiment with my own plays. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the plays that we presented were mine, although we did the other people. And
did you direct them, or did you just
I
cast
directed
them?
some. So I was a producer, director, and writer. But we had a lot of other plays and directors, and because it was quite something to put on a production. It was quite exhausting.
What were you writing about? What were your subjects? What were you drawing from at that time?
A little bit of everything, and a little bit towards the theater of the absurd. That's tragic comedy type of theater. So that's what I did then.
Were they full plays,
I did
or one acts? Or?
3 full-length plays, and then maybe 10 one-acts.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Tell us about the Bunuel family a little bit, and then we'll see how it influenced your work.
Well, as I said earlier, my brother, he was born in Paris. I was born in New York. And coincidentally, also, he's a sculptor. He's a movie director and sculptor. And I turned out to be sculptor and writer, playwright.
And parents?
Pardon me?
Parents?
Well, father, everybody knows, was Bunuel. And,
from the Surrealist period?
Yes, started...
Great friends of Picasso?
Not Picasso, of Dali.
Oh, of
and
Dali,
Lorca.
Dali,
Yeah.
right. Oh, yeah. I kept thinking Picasso. He made the movie with Picasso.
No, it was with Dali.
It was with Dali.
They met at one time, but Picasso was maybe 20, 25 years older than my father.
I wondered about that. That's what I was wondering about, the time span in that.
I think Picasso was 21 years older than my father. So when my father was in Paris, Picasso was already a well-known, established painter.
In the Surrealism show that was at the Tate, that's coming to the United States and playing all around, there was the film, and I guess it was with Dali, Bunuel's film. Did he do it in conjunction
The first one, the Andalusian Dog.
Right.
The script was written by both Dali and my father.
I see, I see. So the theater of the absurd, obviously, was influenced by maybe your background? Or his friends?
Well, it's a movement of the time. Both were important. And one of the books or plays, I didn't see it on theater, but it was Ionesco, the Bal Soprano, the Lesson, the Chairs, that strongly influenced me. I read it, and I was quite impressed and wanted to go in that direction.
So it was a natural. When you worked in Mexico so much, was it because of being Spanish? Was it close, or?
No, I've never worked in Mexico.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you lived and worked in Mexico.
No, because I was brought up in Mexico, and then I came to UCLA.
Your plays are there?
Now there's one play being shown.
I see. That's what I meant. I think that you were showing your work there,
now there's a
working
play
down there.
being shown that was directed by Arturo Ripstein, and that's been going on for a few months. So,
but you didn't go down to direct it, or?
From New York, I went to Mexico City for about a year and a half, and there I did work, and I did some.
That's what I think. I think that also, because all these things kind of fit into what made Rafael Bunuel, including this musical that you wrote, Zapata. How did that come about?
When I first came to LA, I met Bert Convy, and he said, if I wrote it, he would direct it. So the idea, we worked on it together, and then he found Harry Nilsson to do the music.
Oh, I was wondering if you wrote the music. I didn't know if you were musical.
No, not at all.
Oh, I see.
So, and then, so he was in charge. He found the Goodspeed Opera House in Connecticut, and it was put on in Connecticut.
Oh, so that's how it was. Yeah. And Nilsson wrote the music, which, I mean, he's brilliant.
Yeah, and he did a very good job with the music. It sounds Mexican, but
I was going to say he's brilliant, but does his music sound Mexican?
No, he did. I thought he did a terrific job.
Do you think there's any chance of reviving that?
Now, a friend of mine is going to take it back to New York to show it to somebody he knows, because it was written to be a big production. You know, so for a while they said, okay, why don't you do a small production? But it has to be done.
No, we need big musicals.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that's really, hitting people. Mamma Mia, which of course came from that same Nilsson era in a way, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And then you made a film with Chris Mankiewicz. Mm-hmm. That's a famous movie name.
Mankiewicz. So we were partners for a while. And so I had a production company here for a few years.
To make movies?
To make movies.
Did you do a lot of that?
No.
I think what we've got is we've got the art in you coming out the most, don't we? Mm-hmm. We have this piece next to you, the etching, which is an artist proof. Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I started doing etchings in Madrid, and then a couple of years ago I met a friend here that had a press, and we started doing. So this one is one of the later ones that I've done with Gary Eisenberg.
Oh, it's a Eisenberg press. I see the nice chop. It's beautiful.
Eisenberg press. So.
And the idea. What is this?
One thing that's curious is as a playwright, when I'm working on a project and I have to find a title for a play or something, I never have any problems finding a list of titles and then trying to choose the one that best fits it. And in my drawings, my sculptures, it's more of a stream of consciousness that I come up with, and I associate very few words with my drawings or my sculptures. So the meanings, so I don't have, I could interpret it for you, but I'd be making it up.
As you're looking at it?
Yeah.
But not as you made it?
But I don't know what it, my interpretation would be as valid as yours. You know, we're just coming up with...
with the finger pointing at the woman.
Yeah, but what kind of woman?
Exactly. And the other piece we have on the set is not an etching.
That's an etching also.
It's an etching as well?
Aqua tint.
Aqua tint.
So that's kind of a negative. Instead of having a black line, we have a white line.
And we're back with that hand again. Mm-hmm. Which I've seen a lot in your work.
I like hands.
Which, to me, my interpretation, the writing, the whole thing. Is that was there a particular reason, influence?
I wanted to do a series of figures involving the face. So so I tried putting the face on an animal, putting on a hand, and also here you can't see because the etching is the reverse. You get the negative, but usually the model for my hands is my own hand. It's always the left hand appears.
Because you draw your own hand.
I draw my own hand I have it as a model.
And we have another, I'm going to just hold these little pieces of sculpture. This is a bronze.
That's a bronze.
And it looks like a body.
It looks like a body.
And I'm holding it so he can see it. When did you started sculpting in Paris, though? Long ago.
But then I was a playwright, so I couldn't. There was a sculptor in me that I wanted to come out, so I'd be doing some sculptures, and I thought it was a waste of time. So I throw them away or give them away.
Is that right? But you have to cast them.
Yeah, that I go to a foundry.
To throw them away is like, you have to go all the way through this process, right?
No, these, for example, the small ones, these three, I did it in soap.
Oh.
So it's very soft,
and this
easy.
One,
this is
you hold that one up.
This is in wood. Like it's a redwood or something.
And you carved it?
This I carved.
But you carved the soap for these
I carve
too.
the soap, and then I take it to the foundry. They make a mold, and then I make them in a series of 7.
This is beautiful. The other thing then, when we went, that I saw at the Christine Argelet Gallery when you had your opening, was this book, Inkings, a book of drawings. And this is kind of an outgrowth, I guess, of your other work, because these things show the tension, show dialogue, show all, I'm going to find this, show all the surrealism, the music that we've been talking about, all seem to come out in these pieces. Can you tell us anything?
Swinging. The title of it.
You know, I'm gonna turn because I had a couple of, and this one I love.
Yeah, it's Scissor Towers.
Would you call these cartoons?
Some of them, there's two or three different styles. Some are cartoonish.
Because cartoon in Europe is a very specific form of painting or of drawing.
What I do, I like to call them concepts. A lot of them are a concept. So, for example, this would be a person, see no evil, hear no evil, talk no evil.
And you don't have to write anything. Did you go to art school?
No, I didn't.
I think this one's fabulous. And one more just before we go. Yeah, this one. This seems to have kind of a happy, joking kind of feeling to it.
A cathedral built as a jug, or so.
The happiness that goes into what you're doing. Are you going to continue to draw?
I'm drawing a lot lately, and one of the reasons it's a little bit easier, for example, to do one of these sculptures a little bit bigger might take me 3 to 4 weeks of work, and then a drawing I do in a few hours. Once I finish them, it's easy to put them in a drawer in a folder.
So do you like to work all the time?
I'm at it in one way or another all the time. If I'm looking at a magazine or reading a book, I'm thinking about what I could do. So in a way, I am.
And like getting it all down to 2 or 3 lines.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us today, Rafael. And thanks for being with the Joan Quinn Profiles. We'll see you next time. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor. We'll see you next time.